Okay. The light's on and we're on. There we go. So, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And we have a quorum, I believe, even though we have 2 members who are absent. So, and we have Tina here, the staff, and Kathy Miller, we welcome. The Chief Assessor. Hi, Nancy, from the Friends. And I think you've got everybody, Bob, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As I just said, Kathy Miller is the Chief Assessor, and we're going to, if she might like to move up on the agenda, or even if she would prefer to do that and not wait and go through too many things here, but it shouldn't be a long time before we get to her. Are you okay with being here for a few minutes?
It's up to you, absolutely.
Okay, well, if you have something urgent you need to get back to, so.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. All right, and a reminder that this is an open meeting, and we must adhere to the open meeting law. That's just an automatic reminder. You hear all the time, so. Any announcements today? Anyone come across anything interesting or any little tidbit of information? I'm trying to think if I had any, and I didn't have any written down, so.
Well, it would be nice to mention that tomorrow is the Ancestry presentation. It's actually going to be an online workshop. Not online, but the workshop will allow you to go online at the high school. Starts at 2:30. And Sue Hines, who is the library media specialist, is going to assist us in using the software. My understanding is that the library at the high school has a version of Ancestry software that's a little simpler than using Ancestry.com. So she's going to kind of show us the ins and outs. And then I believe she has someone coming over from our library, which does have access to Ancestry.com, to talk about the resources that are available in our library. So if anyone's ever been thinking about doing anything with finding their ancestors, tracing their genealogy, this is a great way to get started on it. No cost, lots of help, very simple. 2:30 tomorrow at the high school, Tuesday the 12th, and Wednesday is our emergency preparedness session at 10:30 with the fire department and the police department, talking about getting ready for the upcoming bad weather. Don't be fooled by the sunshine today.
Did many people sign up for the Ancestry?
We have 8.
Pardon me?
8.
That's great. It's a great opportunity.
But she
It's
said
fascinating.
she could accommodate twice that number.
Yeah, it
if
is.
we wanted to.
Once you get into it, I believe it's quite fascinating.
What's the date?
Tomorrow, the 12th, 2:30.
Any other announcements? No? Seeing none then?
Be careful on the ice, I can tell you.
Oh.
I did go for it.
Get your sand bucket. Get your sand bucket so you don't have a problem on the ice. We are providing sand buckets. You call the office and people will have one delivered to
I
them.
took a real nice tumble and my arm is a mess.
You don't have a sand bucket then.
Trouble is, the ice is everywhere.
I
It
know.
was
Oh,
everywhere.
now it's gone.
Now, thank goodness.
For a while.
Don't think that just because it's a puddle, there's no ice, because it could be underneath it.
That's true.
Found out this morning.
You too.
I didn't fall. but
Well,
I-
that's good. I'm glad you didn't fall. Okay. Then if we're going to move on to item number 3, accepting our minutes, the minutes of the December 14th, 2015 meeting.
Before we accept it, could I get a change put in there?
No, go ahead.
Under the Love and Stitches, it's the old business.
6B.
It'll read the same until you get to the $760. It was earned and given to the Friends of the Littleton Council on Aging for the benefit of senior activities and needs. $100 will go to the Transportation Fund.
Do you want that all in there?
Yes, please.
Okay, wait a second.
What did you say about $100, Jean?
Goes to the Transportation Fund.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just changes from $760. A little bit.
Right. It is true, though, that the Loving Stitches group makes items and does contribute to charity.
Okay, now, let's get it down right.
Don't it?
I'm reading from the minutes as I have them now. Update of Loving Stitches and Holiday Fair. Jane thanked the knitters and donors for successful sale. $760 was earned. Now, what do you want me to say?
And given to the Friends of the Littleton Council on Aging for the benefit...
Wait a minute.
Oh,
Okay, and for the benefit?
and given to the Friends of the Littleton Council on Aging for the benefit of senior activities in needs.
That's the way you want to put it.
And $100 will go to the transportation fund.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, let me read it to you and make sure we get it right. Update on Living Stitches and the Holiday Fair. Jean thanked the knitters and donors for the success of the sale. $760 was earned and given to the Friends of Littleton Council on Aging for the benefit of senior activities and needs. $100 will go to the transportation fund. Was that
Yes.
$100 in addition to the $760?
No, that's, well, yeah, you could take $100 out of the $760.
That's fine.
I mean, they'll,
That was just my own curiosity. Okay.
okay.
Okay, that's been corrected.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
All those in favor of accepting the minutes, and as adjusted? Opposed? It's a unanimous vote. Nope, you didn't oppose it, did you? Oh, no.
I would wait, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean.
You're welcome.
All right, I am going to move Kathy Miller up. I mean, we have a few items, and it's like, I don't know that you need to sit through them. I know you have a lot to do. So why don't we, with the cooperation of the Friends who are on the agenda next, we're going to insert Kathy Miller and then move on. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Thank you. Kathy, would you come up to the center chair here? We save a seat for people so that they're nearer the microphone and people on TV can hear them.
Okay. And I have some copies. Do you want to just take the 3 separate piles?
Pass them out.
CPA.
Kathy is going to speak to us and help us understand the property tax exemptions for seniors and the disabled, to help out the board members understand it, and also people in the community who might benefit by hearing and getting information directly from her. So we welcome you, Kathy, and we're grateful that you're willing to take the time and come to help us with this.
No problem at all. So I made a couple different copies. I don't know if you want me to wait for them to get passed out. But the first one is what is an exemption? And I'm going to start off there because for people who don't know what an exemption is, so an exemption, a personal exemption is a reduction in taxes due to a particular circumstance. And we have several in the town of Littleton. We have 41C, which is our elderly exemption. We have the veterans exemption. We also have a blind exemption. We have a deferral of taxes. We have a surviving spouse or minor of a deceased parent. We have hardship, and then the senior veteran work-off program. So those are the ones that Littleton's accepted. The next section, I put the applying for the exemption. So the qualifying date for exemptions is July 1st. And at that date, you must own and occupy your residence to qualify for the exemption. The application can be filled out by somebody who owns the property or has a life estate or trust. If you are in a trust, you have to have a beneficial interest in the property. Sometimes I find that that's a big confusion as to the ownership. And as we get older and have different ways of, passing the property or putting in their children's name, just make sure that you have a beneficial interest, or you're one of the trustees on the deed. So that's really important. Life estate, if you have a life estate, you automatically are eligible for the exemption. The application must be filed within 3 months of the mailing of the third actual bill. It's recommended to apply as soon as July 1st. The first initial application, you have to come and apply for yourself. Once you get that first exemption, the assessor's office does mail out, we'll keep a running list, and we mail them out each year as a reminder that it's that time of the month, time of year to fill them out. Then we run to additional exemption information. In addition to the exemptions listed, the town has voted to provide an additional 50%, as long as it does not reduce the final tax below the amount you paid the previous year. Also, a taxpayer cannot receive more than one exemption. If you're married and you are eligible for a different, like, say your husband is a veteran and you want to apply for the senior, that's allowed. It's just not more than one exemption per person. But in a household, you can get more than one. And the exception to the not more than one exemption is deferral. So if you were receiving, let's say, a veteran's exemption, or you were receiving an elderly exemption, you can also apply for deferral of what was left, or the remainder of the taxes that were owed could be entered into the deferral. So that is the one time you can get more than one. Also, you can do the senior work-off program. So even if you are eligible for a senior exemption, or like I said, the veteran, any of the ones I've listed, you can still enter into the senior or veterans work-off program. Those two are not, you know what I mean? That they're separate entities, and you can apply for both. And I put the senior work-off. Let's see. I think we covered, so I covered so the first sheet, I wanted to just cover what the exemption was and a little background. On the next sheet of paper, I kind of go into more detail, and I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, because this goes into a little bit more of the eligibility requirements and what needs to be done. I don't know if you want me to touch base. For the 17D, we can just go over it, just not go into each one, but for 17D, you must be over 70 years of age as of July 1st of the tax year, or a surviving spouse or a minor child. You must have owned and occupied the property for 5 years and have a whole estate not less than $40,000. And so that is one of the things to keep in mind, is there are eligibility, and I stress that, requirements. And if you have any questions, I want everybody to know they can come into the assessor's office and we can sit down and go over them, because sometimes they are kind of hard to understand because there's asset and income and they're separate, and we can review those with you. The veterans, I'm just going to touch base on it. We have several.
Can we go a little more slowly?
Sure.
Whole estate. It says value of personal property less the domicile. So if a person's total net worth is $80,000 and their house is worth $40,000, or say it's worth $60,000.
So it's a personal, so it's not included the house, but you can't have an estate of value of $40,000.
Without, but not
17D.
counting the house.
Not-
So
Not counted.
people can own a home for $120,000.
Less domicile, yes,
Yeah.
less domicile. So
Okay.
that's the 17D. That one's a little less than our senior exemption. So
What's the difference between that and the senior exemption, which is on the back?
So the senior
Better
exemption
requirement.
has income requirements, not just asset. So sometimes if you can't meet the senior exemption, the 41C, because of income limits, but your assets meet it, you don't get as much off, as you can see on the 17D, as you do on the senior, but you have a little less strict, a little less, you know what I mean, it's not as strict, so you might be able to meet it. If you took that income out of the equation and you just go by assets, you might meet that one. The veterans, with the veterans, the one thing I'm just going to say, not to get into the veterans, because there's so many different qualifications from disability-connected injuries to Purple Heart to,
Right.
you know what I mean, to being in a wheelchair. There's just so many. The veterans agent can help you with that. That's another thing. I'll go into the assessor's office. There's just so many to review right now, and I don't know them all. You know what I mean by heart, but please come in and we can review what those
Or
are.
they can call the veterans agents too, can't they?
Yeah.
And that, his number isn't listed in the phone book, so it should be,
Yeah,
it's-
and also online. His name
I think it is
John, I
online.
believe.
Yeah.
I think it's online, and if you went on littleton.com.
but ask, it's worth inquiring
It's
about.
all of this is worth inquiring about. I always say that. Please come in, we can work with you, and see if you're eligible for any, or which ones you are, which ones work best for you, because sometimes you might be eligible for more than one, but we can figure out which one is the best one that'd be the most helpful.
Well, the key is that you're only eligible for one.
You're only eligible for
So you
one.
pick, you work for the one that's got the
The one that's
the most
gets the most
production. There's a big
wrong.
difference between 500 and 175.
Absolutely. And just remember, too, we did vote town meeting to do the 50% increase, so that 500 is actually 750. So on the 17D, it would be 262.50 if you give it the 50%.
Seventeen D is what?
So
That's the first one.
Yeah, that's the very first one on this, and that's the surviving spouse, elderly, or minor child. That one is, it's 175 as is, but with our 50%, it's 262.50. Which, like I said, it has less requirements, so it's not the 750 that's the senior, but if you didn't apply for those, if you couldn't meet those income requirements, it's better than nothing, and every bit of help is,
Does help, right.
it does.
Basically for very low-income people. Does it include that, does that 40,000 include the Social Security?
I believe it does.
Yeah, okay.
So the next one is blind. So with the blind exemption, you have to prove the blindness through a certificate, which is usually issued by your general practitioner, your physician. They give you a certificate of blindness. That's for the initial one. We'll keep that on file, but it has to be applied for annually. The current exemption with our 50% is $750. And then if you flip over 41C, which tends to be the most popular, so this one, you have to be 65 years of age as of July 1st, and must have a primary residence in Massachusetts for 10 years, and own the property in the state for 5 years, and have occupied the property as of July 1st. All owners must have a whole estate, value of personal property excluding domicile, of less than $40,000 if single, and $50,000 if married. All owners must have an income after allowable Social Security deductions of $4,523 for the worker and $2,262 for the spouse, or less than $20,000 if single, $30,000 married. Required documentation is the birth certificate and a copy of the most recent tax income return. We don't keep that on file, just so everybody knows. All we do is to verify that amount and just put our initials on the application to prove that we have verified it. We don't want to keep that on file, and it's returned to you. I did list a Cpa tax exemption because I don't think a lot of people know that you can apply for a Cpa tax exemption. So we just listed that. You have to be 60 or older as of January 1st of the tax year, have owned the property as of January 1st, 2015, and the property must be a legal residence as of July 1st.
What does CPA stand for?
Community Preservation Act?
Oh, okay, it isn't certified public accountant.
No. Community preservation, as it was voted in by the town, it's that 1% surcharge, and it goes to various, like low-income housing and, what is it, housing, recreation,
Open space.
open space, and so. And then the last one I included was the tax deferral. In this, we had some changes to it last year that made it a little bit more desirable, at least I think so. You must be 65 years or older, owned and occupied the property as of July 1st, be domiciled in Mass for the preceding 10 years, own and occupy real estate in Massachusetts, be domiciled for at least 5 years, have gross receipts from all sources, combined receipts if owned jointly with spouse, in preceding year cannot exceed $55,000. It does place a lien on your property, but what we did is that the original interest rate was 8%, and we got it lowered to 1%, which I thought was pretty great.
We put that through.
Yes, I love it. And I really think that, I mean, it's not utilized as much as I had hoped it would be, but it really is a great program. I mean, at 1% interest, you don't have to put all of your taxes in. A lot of times people think they have to put the whole thing. It could be just a percentage. If you're on a fixed income and you couldn't afford X amount, whatever, you can't. So if it's just like a quarter of the taxes, that's just a little bit much for you, half the taxes, that might just be too much. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. It can just be a portion, which I think is great because, like I said, you can combine exemptions. So if you had that 41C and you got $750 taken off your taxes for the year, and you could afford like X amount, just put the rest could be put in a, it doesn't have to be, I just think it's great, especially where you can combine them. And if you were doing the senior work-off program, I mean, between the three things, you really could reduce your taxes quite a bit. Does anybody have any questions? I know this is a lot. It's hard to simplify where there's so many. I think the 41C and the tax deferral might be the most important ones that we're touching base on here. But as I have presentations for them all and information, I wanted to bring them all just so we could touch base and know a little bit about background of each one of them.
And you and your staff are available to talk to people if they have questions or want to know if they qualify.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, we sit down and we'll go through each one, and if you are eligible for more than one, we figure out which one's the best. And we can talk about, you know, some of the other ones that you don't know as much about, and definitely we're there to help.
And the deadline for filing is the end of March.
Yes, March 31st.
Any year.
Excuse me, are you publicizing this? This is board knowledge, but what about the outside?
We ought to put it on TV.
Okay.
We're on TV.
We are
Mary.
on TV now. It is getting publicized
teasing
right
you.
now, yeah.
Everybody's watching it, though.
Yeah, but the question is, are we going to give this out to all seniors in some form, or?
Right, we've got to publicize it.
We usually mention it in the newsletter, but you can see, we obviously can't print all of this. And so the key is for them to talk to the assessors, but we do point out to people that it is available to them.
Maybe the assessor's office should publicize it.
Well, it's on our webpage. I think it's more, you know, one could say, how often does somebody go on the webpage? But at town meeting, we do have it. It's part of the warrant.
And I just think the more we talk about it,
Yeah,
and we
I
get the
agree.
word out, and people start participating in it, then the word will spread more. So we just need to keep it on the table.
But it is my opinion that the people who would be most likely to need this are the ones that are least likely to look up anything on the computer.
I agree.
How would you suggest we reach out to those people? How do you suggest we reach out to those people?
Yours one, excuse me, suggestion, putting it in the broadcaster is a good one.
Yeah, it's in the broadcaster each year.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Unless you want to send notices in, but the assessor's office doesn't do mailings.
No.
So that's no good.
And I'm sure that the town will not authorize the cost of postage to send a mailing
Right. Yeah.
like this.
I think this is why this is good, too, having it televised. For everybody that watches it, if they know somebody or get together and meet somebody who doesn't, you can spread the word.
It's worth a phone call if anyone has even the slightest question about whether it's something that they could benefit from. It's certainly worth the phone call to the assessor's office.
Absolutely.
Does our public TV ever do public announcements?
Oh, yeah.
Has this ever been a public announcement?
We could put it on the scroll,
I was just going to
but it
say,
had to say to call the office because this would, again, this is way too long.
I
To put on the
agree.
scroll.
I have to admit, I never heard tell of this. I think a public announcement of what, just a brief of what this is.
That's a great idea. In my previous community, they did a scroll. And it would just say when the exemptions are due, what they are, please call the assessor's office for more
I mean,
information.
a brief one. would
Yeah.
Just highlight it.
Just to get it out there.
We know from the needs assessment that people are much more likely to look at the broadcaster than LCTV, but again, it doesn't hurt to just get the message out.
Yeah.
Orange, Tina had a question.
I'm sorry.
Just that we do mention it when we're screening people for food stamps and fuel assistance and that sort of thing, and many times they leave my office and go right down to the assessors to find out more
That's
about
great.
this. So we'll continue
So
to do
that's
that.
another way.
Yeah, I'm open to any suggestions.
But again, that was partly why, another reason why we were anxious to have Kathy come and speak to us so that we would benefit from the information, but more also that knowing that this is televised and it's helping to get the information out. So, yeah. Yes, Nancy?
I have a
Now,
suggestion.
we do
I-
post the broadcaster, at least at St. Anne's, and maybe they posted it at other churches. Could something like this be posted at the church? We could ask. That's really informational. I mean, that's got a lot of information. It
Yeah,
might be
but
helpful
again,
later.
this is so long. I think I'd rather put
I mean,
something shorter.
this
and-
one sheet here is very highlighted. I mean, this may be long, but this might get somebody's attention. Because it has just the
Do
basics.
some kind of just,
Yes, but I do want to point out, it is in the broadcaster, and the broadcaster is distributed to the churches. And that way, a person has the copy with the phone number. I mean, what are you suggesting? We make 200 copies of this and?
No,
No,
I'm
you'd
just,
make a
I'm
copy
just
for
just
each
looking
church
at
and
the
send it
three
to
of
them, post
these. Of the
We can
three of
ask them
them, I
to.
found this one to be most informative of the act.
The CPA one, are you talking
CPA
about?
Act. I mean, I was not aware of it.
We
I
can
don't
send it
know
to the
whether
churches
the-
and ask them to post it.
Well, that's just getting the information out about the CPA deduction, but not all of it.
This one could be done very easily, too.
I think this one has information about all of the opportunities and the phone, as well as the phone number here to call to get more information. But, I mean, this has more concrete things, but it's only particular to that one.
community preservation.
Right.
And I think the most important one is the clause 41A for
See,
Right.
for
41C.
seniors.
seniors.
Right. So, Nancy also had a suggestion, and I
41C, dear.
cut her off there.
It would be too late for the February broadcaster, but...
Hey, Nancy, can you speak up really loud or get closer to the microphone so people can hear you?
It would be too late to put this in the February broadcaster, but not March. Perhaps a public meeting could be announced at the COA if the assessor's office would have time to come and explain to a group of people. I know it would be better if they came individually, but they might not do that. If we advertised a public meeting, they might, or you might only have one show up, so that you never know.
We did something.
Again, it was in the January broadcaster, and I can have Kathy come in March, and we can publicize it in the March broadcaster. Last year, Kathy did a coffee hour in the diner, in which she talked about all of this. Obviously, we can't do that.
No. How many came then?
I don't remember.
It was a good amount?
It was enough.
Oh, good. All right.
Question on CPA tax relief. What are we talking about here? We're not talking about the kind of exemptions that you're talking about in the others.
No,
Is it a dollar that would they take off our taxes? I haven't any idea what a CPA tax charge
It's a
is.
surcharge that goes onto your property
And
taxes.
how much is it?
1%. It's the first 100,000 is exempt, and then it's 1% of the remaining assessed value of the home.
Okay,
And
so
this is
we're
how you can
talking about a
apply for an
relatively small
exemption.
amount of money for
It's a-
most people.
This is how you can
especially the
apply to
people
get
that-
that exemption from that.
The people we're talking about, are basically, this is a relatively small amount of money that they're paying in taxes.
Right,
It's not like taking off
So
their
this-
taxes of $5,000 a year.
right. But I just thought I'd include it because some people just don't know about it, and I thought this would be the perfect time, because you still, Might be not much to some, but it might be a lot to others, so.
Taxes are due February 1, right?
And the annual gross calendar year household income must not exceed. Is that strictly income? It's not
Which one?
assets?
Are you under the
I'm on the
41C?
CPA.
Number 4.
Oh, I didn't give myself a copy of the,
The applicant's annual gross calendar year 2014 household income must not exceed the following limits.
okay, and your question was again? I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm asking what household income is.
What shows up on your
Not
tax form?
assets.
What shows up on your tax form as income? Everything that the
Yeah,
state and the feds
IRAs,
say
Social
is
Security.
income.
Income is income is income.
Yep.
It is and it isn't.
As defined by
There's no way I'm
state.
gonna qualify for a lot of things, but if they only want 78,000, my technical net income is about $70,000, so I could get this.
If that's what you have on your tax form, if that's what you sign and file as your income on your
Right,
tax
but
form,
basically, that's
you
interest,
qualify.
dividends, and it's nothing to do with investments and so forth and so on.
It's not assets, it's
Not
income.
assets,
Yeah.
right, that's what I'm asking.
Can I ask, is it adjusted net income, or is it adjusted, or is it gross income?
Maybe it's gross income.
It's gross income.
That makes a big difference.
That makes a big,
Does it say
exactly.
right there? Because I gotta be honest, annual gross, the applicant's annual gross calendar year income. Yeah, if you read number
Gross,
4, it does say annual gross.
Because when you do your taxes, you start with
Yeah.
gross, and then you
Right.
do deductions, and then you have a net income, which you're taxed on. So is this based on gross
Gross.
income or net income?
It says
says
gross.
gross
It
on
says
there.
it right
I
on
believe if you
here.
read number 4,
The annual gross calendar year
Gross.
household income.
Gross income,
Yeah.
okay.
That makes a big difference.
It does make a big difference, yeah. So it's gross income, okay, thank you.
And the purpose of this was what? Just to have people be exempt from the surcharge?
for the community preservation, yes.
Yeah.
When the
These only
Community
apply to that.
Preservation Act was first passed, one of the objections was that it would put an undue burden on seniors, and in particular, they were talking about, I think, down at the Cape, people who had retired and who had homes with large values and large tax bills. So they created the exemption to give seniors the opportunity that were
makes
low
sense,
income to step out of it.
That makes sense. Okay.
Kathy was probably still in grade school when they did that. But I remember it well.
No, and I was on the fence on including it, but I just think that every little bit helps, and if you...
Yes,
you
it
know,
does.
If you get it exempt, why not?
It's like getting a discount at Dunkin' Donuts on coffee, every little bit helps.
Oh, I think you're right, because the needs assessment identified a large number of seniors with a very small income in this town, so it will benefit a lot of people.
Yeah.
It could benefit them if they do something about it.
Right, but and people need to know it's available, and they need to call and ask questions, even if they are, not sure. Just ask.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell you that the feedback I get is that our desk people, the people in the assessor's office, are some of the friendliest in the whole area, in terms of people being able to come in and ask questions and for them to help.
Thank you. I think so.
That's nice.
Thank you. That is nice to hear. So there's no more questions? We all
Any other
set?
questions for Kathy? This is wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful information. Thank you ever so
Oh,
much.
you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And I think if we can find ways to get more information out, whether it's posting it in a church, and that's possible, we can do that too.
I made a list of things to do, and I'll also meet with Kathy, and we'll pick a time in March for her to do a presentation, whether, we can have coffee upstairs, I suppose, as easily as downstairs. And that will still be before the deadline, which is the end of March.
Yeah, I would love that. That worked out well last year, so.
Thank you, Kathy.
Definitely.
Right,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Are you doing the Friends report, or is, you are? Okay. Please come join us.
And I'll come closer.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't have much to say. We're not doing anything in January because of the kitchen, but let's not go there. We're going to have a Valentine's party on February 16th. We're going to have a singer. We've had him before, and I'm sorry, I only remember his first name. I think it's Tony French's. We're going to have a light lunch, something that's not hot, and some drinks. He's very entertaining. Then on March 16th, we're having, we hope, a St. Patrick's Day luncheon, which is supposed to be held in the kitchen, our kitchen, catered by the tech. The tech has already been in contact with Pam, and I spoke with them very recently, just a Friday, I believe it was, and they still don't know if we can have them cater here or not. If not, we can probably have it there. They're checking their calendar to make sure the date is available, but this time we'll have to pay to rent the room to have them feed us.
And in that regard, as I mentioned in the Friends meeting, I can't guarantee that the room will be available, that the kitchen will be available on March 17th. You're welcome to go to PMDC and ask them if they can guarantee that it will be done.
Okay, what's the March thing? It's
St. Patrick's Day
St. Patrick's.
luncheon catered by Neshoba Tech.
We're going to be optimistic. It will be ready.
If we hold those good, positive thoughts.
Right.
Well, last we heard, they said it would be ready by the end of February, so I think that, well, for the tech to reserve the room at their school, that's going to happen very soon. And they'll let me know if it is available. If not, then we'll have to find another place to have it. But fingers and toes crossed, it'll be here.
Have you considered using the Congregational Church for this?
Yes, I even have the name of the person to call. Okay? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Old business. Speaking of the kitchen, what is the latest?
Well, they are back to work. At the December 23rd emergency meeting with the PMBC, I attended that. There was a change made to the contract. Again, they were still having issues with the venting from the hood to the roof. A change order was processed. It was voted at that meeting to accept that, and I did notice that the guys are back in there working again. Just a reminder that the original schedule was 12 to 15 weeks, and they started a week late because the permits weren't ready. So when you count 12 to 15 weeks, you need to be counting from November 2nd, which puts us at the end of February, if they stick to the same schedule. And at the meeting with the PMBC, what they said to me was, we think we can hit the original schedule if nothing else goes wrong.
Always the ifs.
So that's the part where I said I can't guarantee that we will be
Right.
ready on March 17th.
Do we know where they actually are with any, I mean, have they got, they're still working on the venting?
They're still working on the venting.
Venting, that's where they're at?
All kinds of people are complaining because they can't put their nose in and watch through the window and see what they're doing.
know, they
They've
taped it
covered
up.
They've covered all of them.
No peeking. It's going to be a big surprise.
Pam, are these changes in their contract with us are they going to charge us any more?
There was a $20,000 additional charge for the changes. It also included some stuff around electrical stuff.
That seems to always happen. I know whenever I've had construction or new changes done, there's always things you didn't expect. And
But
not
I'll
much
remind
difference.
you that at the last town meeting, we were given an additional $38,000. So we, at this point, have not yet exceeded our budget. Or PMBC has not yet exceeded their budget.
That's good. Any questions for Pam on that? Thank you.
As soon as I know something, you guys will know something.
All right. Update on the TRED program.
So the TRED program has gotten kicked off. That's the tax relief for elders and the disabled. And we're starting to get donations. I had one very generous $2,000 donation from a private citizen,
Wow.
which really helps to get things started. And big thank you to the Friends who made a $500 donation to the program. Anyone who wants to donate, you can send a check to me, made out to the Council on Aging, and just put TRED in the memo. Or when you pay your taxes, which Mary pointed out are due on February 1st, if you're on the online system, you just click the button and you can add an additional amount that's going to go towards the TRED program, or you can include a separate check with your tax payment or come in with a separate check. And again, note that it is for the TRED program and it will be processed and get into that program. I do want to point out that every dollar that goes into the TRED program will then be directly used for tax relief. There's no administrative costs taken out of that. It won't be used to pay for any office materials or holiday parties or anything like that. It'll go straight for tax relief.
People
for
have to
the
apply for
elders.
this tax relief, right?
So the application process is technically open, but remember, we're talking about applications that will be processed next fall for next February's tax bill. So we're working now to start the application process to be ready to provide funding next year for people. The applications for the TRED program will be processed through Council on Aging. Tina and I are working on that. But I'm glad you mentioned that, Bob, because in order to be ready to deal with disbursements of funds, we need to get the TRED board together. And there has been a notice out that they are accepting applications. There are 3 board positions that are open. One position is by the treasurer, that's Steve Venuti. One position is the chairman of the Board of Assessors, that's Fred Freund. And then there are 3 positions that will be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. So anyone who's interested, you can fill out an application with Jennifer and get your name in. And then this will be the board that Tina and I will be presenting the applications to for disbursement.
So people have a year to make the donations for next year?
Well, what I'm hoping is it'll become a regular thing, that people will contribute every year.
Like
and-
when the broadcaster, all along, reminders?
Well, there's one on the front page of this month's broadcaster.
It'll go, actually, it would be for townwide, wouldn't it be? Not just for seniors?
Well, there was a notice in the Action Unlimited. I asked the Independent to print an item. I haven't seen it yet.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Littleton Independent does not have a lot of Littleton news in it.
Yeah,
I
unfortunately.
don't get it anymore.
No, I know,
Read it at the library.
And I just made a
listed.
note to myself, I'm going to also put this on the scroll for LCTV. So,
That's good.
yep.
Yep. Okay, any other questions about that, the TRED program? Great, then we're going to move along. We've already heard from Kathy, so you can you should have moved B up to underneath 3.
What about A?
And we have A, vote to accept the MMS gift. And
I would move that the Council on Aging Board vote to accept a donation of $3,500 from Limited Senior Services to be used for the purchase of a new dishwasher for the COA kitchen.
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Bob, I think. or
Thank you.
abstain. Did anyone abstain that I missed? So-
I will see that this gets to Keith and goes on the agenda for the BOS meeting tonight, and then the Board of Selectmen can also accept this, and then we can cash the check.
Yay.
Very generous of Minuteman to do this for us. This is wonderful. And it's actually downstairs. I saw it. It looks pretty cool. It has a sanitizing cycle that is just like 3 minutes or something like that. It's wonderful.
Right, wow. Yeah, that was a nice Christmas present.
A very nice Christmas
Yes.
present.
All right. Okay, ethics reminder and confidentiality policy. I think everyone received, as far as the ethics goes, received the email from Diane Crory.
With this document attached, does this look familiar to people?
You should have received it. If you did not, we need to know so that Diane can make sure, or we can forward it to you. But you know, I was going to get to that, because you don't, in the message, when she sent it to us, it says, you need to read this, and you can just go acknowledge receiving the email version. You
By
don't
just
have
replying to her.
By replying to that. And
All you had
she-
to do was put reply, click reply and say, I read it.
I read it
And
and
put your name.
and accept it. But you don't have to fill out that form, that's at the back of the summary of it. So that's just a reminder for people that might have trouble. You don't have to print it out and send it to her. Just go on a message. It should be. You can't read the email.
You can read this if you'd like.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. No, that's it. There should be, I was going to, we don't have that summary, maybe, don't we have it in here, in our books, too? I was thinking about that, and I grabbed my book today because I thought, wow.
I don't think it's in there because it changes every year.
Code of Conduct and Ethics for the town of Littleton. So, I think what we have is, there's 2 of those in there, that's not good.
Then there's these annoying people that carry their...
This is what we have in here, Code of
Usually
Conduct
do,
and Ethics
but-
for the town of Littleton. And that is a summary of, what is the title?
Conflict of interest law for municipal...
Oh, this is Conduct and Ethics and not Conflict of Interest, that's why. So we don't have it in here.
So
Maybe
the
we should get it in here.
The conflict of interest law is, every year, Diane Crory has to certify that all municipal employees and all board members have been reminded to read that and to acknowledge that they have been reminded of what the ethical rules are for the state of Massachusetts.
Okay.
That's why you all received that. And if there's no more discussion about that, I also included in your packet a client confidentiality form. Since the ethics thing comes up annually, I've started doing this with the front desk annually. And it's just a reminder to the front desk, people who work in Meals on Wheels, van drivers, et cetera, about how we need to be aware of people's privacy, their right to privacy, and keep the confidentiality of information that gets passed around in the office. I thought you might be interested in seeing it. On the back is a little true-false quiz to just kind of bring it home to people, what we're talking about in terms of
I
confidentiality.
have a paper with that form on it.
No, I didn't make copies of that.
Okay.
If you want a copy of this ethics thing, I'd be happy to make it in the office for you.
No, I read it on the email.
And then you just replied to her.
All you have to do is reply to her. You don't have to fill out the form and
Okay.
bring it into her. She makes that clear in the message, so feel
I
comfortable
just
doing that.
acknowledged it. I didn't fill any form.
No, you don't have to. She said it was okay, just to
Just go to the office or do it by email?
do it by email. She said you can do it by email. Because she sent that out to all board members for all boards in town.
I'll go to the office.
Or you go to the office, but you have to just take that last sheet to the office.
For the
You don't take the
drivers, I
whole
made
packet.
copies of this last sheet. I had them all read it, and then I had them each sign a copy of the sheet with their name, and I sent them to Diane.
Back in
Did Diane
14,
send that
we
out?
did it on the
She
computer.
sent an email
and this
to
is
all
what we
board
got.
members.
Oh, I didn't get it.
But It was this year, it wasn't that fancy.
I believe, I was looking at it this morning, and I believe it was December 29th, something like that she sent it out.
Would you like me to resend it to all the board members?
Why don't we do that?
Not me, I already signed it. Don't get me confused.
Send it to everyone but Bob.
Okay, I'll send it to everyone but Bob.
Or me, because I have it.
And all you have to do is just respond to Diane
I read it.
and say, I read
Bob
it.
Stetson.
Bob Stetson read it.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Or the confidentiality? And the confidentiality is really, pretty standard. However, if you're not used to it, it's not standard because you don't know what it's all about, so it's good to...
We're on television, how much more
It
can you?
is common sense. No, it's being confidential about, certain things, so. If there's a need.
Essentially, it says that people who come to the council asking for fuel assistance, asking for Cooper funds, asking for help in deciding whether they're eligible for tax programs, that they have a right to the privacy of that information, and they have the reasonable right to expect that we will keep that information confidential. All the information that Tina gets on people's income and what have you is kept double locked in the office. Her door is locked. It's also locked inside a file cabinet, so it can't be just casually perused by cleaning staff or someone who would just wander into her office. It's just a reminder that people do have the right to expect that this information will be kept private. There are people who wouldn't even want anyone to know, for example, that they were riding the van for dialysis. It's their business, and it's their story to tell, not ours. And that's a perfect example of something that a person working the front desk would see on the manifest, was that a person was being taken to DCI.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think we're ready to move on to the reports. Everybody okay with that? Nothing we
About the
left undone?
planning
For the
process
coming year.
for the coming year.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So
Wow, I'm
Roseanne-
really skipping
well,
around, aren't I, today?
Roseanne asked if we could put that off until
Right,
she could
she
be
did.
here, because she was the one who actually had raised that as something to be on the agenda. This travel, I guess, came up unexpectedly for her.
You sent out a nice email, though, about the goals and suggestions back in December, I believe. Did you not? Right? And we all should have received it. I think it was an email about suggested goals Pam had thought about, including things from the needs assessment and just food for thought for all of us.
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to go back and read that message and think about goals and come to our next meeting prepared to deal with that, because we're going to put it on the agenda next month in February, hopefully. We're not going to have a snowstorm or something like that. But anyway, but we need to think about that, because we need to be, deciding where do we want to go and what is our direction and what do we want to focus our energy on for the next few months. So, yeah. I don't remember when you sent that out, but again, that was a couple of weeks
can
ago at
resend
least.
that.
Yeah, that
I can
was,
resend it before the February meeting.
that would be good, I think, because she had some good thoughts in that email, I think. Anything else about that? About goal setting and preparing ourselves for that? No questions about it? Okay, can we move on to reports now? I'm sorry. Keep me on track here. I'm a little spacey today, I think. We're moving into reports. Yep, the mark. Mary, we are getting there.
Take it away, Bob.
He's typing.
Okay, the first two reports are the office and the Mart Nothing too spectacular. Obviously, we're back up to the 400s for monthly riders, which means we've got a lot of rides going on. And I noticed that the report now is coming out for each van, so we know how much each van is. You don't see it on here, but when I got it to put in the report, it came not as just riders, but it came as riders of bus 1 and riders of bus 2. So that they're actually keeping an indication of how much we're using each of the buses. 435, and this is the MART report. Driver's hours are 343, and the driver's cost for the month was $5,489.26. Nothing unusual. Evidently, the phone bill didn't come in because it'll probably come in next month. Any questions on that one? The office budget, there was nothing spectacular. Recreation Services had $973, which was more than we've spent for the usual for the year, but well within our budget means. Purpose being that we stay within the 4416. Any comments on that particular one?
I don't know exactly why it was up in December, but we will definitely stay inside the
Something that you did
budget.
that decided that it was Recreation Services.
We had a couple of new programs that I was paying for. There are 2 new writing programs, writing, not writing. A non-judgmental writing workshop we were running in December, and also a critique writing workshop that we've been running in December.
And we spent money on training and education. That's good.
And you'll also notice that the $9,000 for the dispatches on the March budget was paid this month. This is paid on a yearly basis or a 6-month basis, so it came in December. That's it.
Okay.
One comment I would make about the budget, just to give you some perspective. So you know we run one van that is run by MART, and MART pays for all the maintenance on that. The second van is owned by us, and we pay the maintenance on that. And I just wanted to give you an example of when things are going well, we paid $490 for our maintenance, and that was with no problems. That was not needing a brake job, not with a bad battery, not with difficulties with the lift or anything like that. I pointed out because we put so many miles on this vehicle, I just want you to know that there are some significant costs that do wind up accruing for the van. And that's why we have this ongoing transportation fund, and we are continuing to accept donations into that to help defray those costs.
I know, I was a little panicked this morning. I saw the van pulled over on Route 2, sitting there right just west of the Rotary, you know, and going west. I'm like, oh no, I hope they're not broken down.
I think they were on the phone.
So, did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay.
And that segue leads into the director's report. Already mentioned the genealogy workshop and emergency preparedness session. Just really nice to have this kind of cooperation from other departments. The genealogy workshop started with Sue Hines reaching out to us and asking if we wanted to be part of this. Linda came down from the library. She's also going to be going over to just kind of drift around and help people. The emergency prep session, thanks again to the fire department and the police department for their cooperation in setting that up. And I think the timing's pretty good. It's not exactly snowing, but I think we all had a taste last week of what's probably ahead for us. So I hope it will sharpen people's focus that they need to think about being prepared, not running around at the last minute. We have started the sand bucket program on New Year's Eve. I went out and delivered some sand to people who had requested it. We're continuing to collect names. and I'll get the senior tax workers involved in the next round. Just a reminder of the closure policy, the winter closure policy. This came up last week, obviously with the bad weather. We do not follow the school schedule. Town Hall is on its own schedule. The diner does follow the school schedule. Minuteman Senior Services has made the decision in all the towns that they cover that they will just follow the school schedule. So if the schools are closed because of bad weather, all the Minuteman sites are closed because of bad weather. So there are times when the diner is closed, but the COA is technically open. I reserve the right to pull the vans off the road if I think it's too hazardous for them to run, even if this building is open and the COA is open for business. But if we are closed, and Tina will attest to it, that being closed last year was a very unusual event. If you call our office number, the answering machine will reflect that we are indeed closed. So if you call and you get the regular response or somebody answers, that means we're open for business. They're getting ready to start running ALICE training. ALICE stands for, what's this stand for?
Alert, lockdown,
Alert,
inform.
lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. And it is a training program that the Littleton Police Department is doing to prepare in the event of an armed intruder into Town Hall. So all of the employees are going to participate in that training, and we're having some discussion right now about which volunteers we might ask to also participate in those training sessions.
I would like to add to that that St. Anne's is having it on January the 30th also for the volunteers and the staff of St. Anne's, what to do in a case of that.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Alice, like Ask Alice, Alice in Wonderland. And then follows the statistics. You know, we're down a little bit in November with the holiday at the end of the month, bounced back up to some degree. Transportation definitely bounced back up. Again, cancellations, high number of cancellations, and I mention those just to give you a feel for what dispatch is doing. So not only did dispatch book 435 rides for us last month, they also booked another 204 that subsequently canceled. So from the standpoint of dispatch, it's the same amount of work for them if someone cancels or if they ride. I mentioned the no-shows because that's the same amount of work for the drivers as if someone rode. That means they pulled up in front of someone's house, and that's when they found out that the person didn't want to go. Cancellation is when they call up in advance, and we know about it. Respectfully submitted.
$250 congregate meals, is that typical, or is it usually much higher than that when we were here?
It's usually up in the 300s. You know, we no longer have that special lunch on Thursdays. That's really made a hit on those. I think for all the people that Gail has picked up by being at 19 Shattuck, she lost some people that used to come downstairs. And we're expecting the same switch when we flip back, is that we'll pick up some people who would have come to lunch here and will come back, and then she'll probably lose some of the people from 19 Shattuck. Just as a side note, I had a meeting with Lisa Larrabee, who runs 19 Shattuck, and she was telling me that, again, they're fine with us staying. They have no problem with the fact that we've stayed much longer than we said. She's actually very happy to see the way people come in and they sort of hang out. It's gotten some people out of their apartments.
Maybe a long-term benefit for them.
It has
Right.
been a good benefit, and we're really hoping that we can get some carryover, that some of those people will be kind of stuck and come with us when we come back.
They will if they established a relationship. I
That's what
think.
we're hoping.
Yeah.
And it's not that far a journey. You know.
That's the glory of it, I think, that
Yeah, it's
One of the
not a
biggest
big
figure.
journey for them.
It has worked out really, really well for us.
Any questions for Pam? Nope. All right. Tina, would you like to come forward and join us?
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thanks.
Wow, our ears must have been burning. That was from Gail about Meals on Wheels.
Really?
Okay, well, December was a busy month. We were grateful to have Courtney Walker, our student intern, with us, and we'll continue to have her through April 29th. That'll be her last day. She's been very helpful with some of the food stamp applications, fuel assistance applications, distributing the newsletter, the broadcaster, and that sort of thing. We made a decision for the December Caregivers meeting to put that off until January 6th. So the December meeting was held in January, and it was great, and we will have another meeting again at the end of the month.
Excuse
So-
me, Dina, what was this?
Oh, the Caregivers monthly
Caregivers,
meeting,
okay.
the one that we have in the evening, generally the last Wednesday of the month. And we're trying to reach out to all types of caregivers, but most of the group are caregivers that work through the Supportive Day program that we have on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Many of those caregivers come, but we have been adding other people, even some people in the surrounding communities, and they're, all welcome. Although the room with 14 people in it feels just about as much as we can hold, but we have been able to squeeze in 18 when we do have that. Other groups are going well, social anxiety. We're looking at trying to expand the living alone group and perhaps have some more topics and that sort of thing. I have been kept busy with some of the rides that the van isn't able to provide, and I have a nice but very small group of senior tax workers and some volunteers that will drive people on an emergency basis or drive when the van, cannot do it. I don't know if anyone has any questions. The Friends were very helpful with the donation of gift cards for food for seniors. So I was able to distribute some of those to some elders in need, and we continue to have some to offer to others if they need it.
Probably should point out that we had a rather quiet month in December around additional requests for assistance, probably because it was so warm.
The weather was
But now, everyone has found us. So Tina is back to being very, very busy dealing with emergencies.
Winter came and a vengeance.
Yeah.
Good job, Tina.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This is for Tina. This is for you.
Thank you.
I should draw your attention to the budget reports, and you'll see that in the fuel assistance area, Cooper funding, that we are in a healthy area there. We have plenty of money, but we're probably going to be spending a lot of it. I suspect we're going to have another cold winter ahead of us. So that account goes up, and then we spend it down.
All right. Barbara, you're on.
Well, there's not much change in the kitchen report, or bingo, because, they didn't have it for 2 weeks, but it's back again Friday, and it should be okay. I've said it before, and I want to say it again, we really have to commend the drivers who drive the Meals on Wheels. It's up to 24 now a day for one person goes out and spends an hour and a half, sometimes it takes 2 hours, depends. They stop to talk to everybody, they see everybody, it's a checkup every day, deliver their meal, and no matter what the weather is, bad weather, ice, whatever, they do it. And they do it all the time, every day.
With a smile on their face.
But it's up to, and it's up to 24 now, and, we might have to start thinking about splitting it to, because it
It's a lot.
goes all over town. It goes four sides of Littleton, honestly. It goes all over Littleton.
How long does it take?
I used to get lost down at Lake Mattawamke when I did it.
It takes Lake Mattawamke up to the mobile home park.
Albert Road.
Yeah,
How
all
many drivers do we
east,
have?
west, north, and south. They go.
You're talking about the
It
Meals
takes
on
about
Wheels?
a good hour and a half. Sometimes
yeah.
2 hours, depends on the weather and, everything.
How talkative people are, and
Yeah.
How many drivers?
Gee, I don't know that. Do you know how many drivers there are for Meals on Wheels?
I would guess there's maybe 6 or 7. Of course, every week there's 5 that are on.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I know she has backup in case somebody's
Yeah.
not available.
They really could use more. They volunteer their time, their car, just
Well,
everything.
some of them are senior tax workers. Some are senior tax workers
Right.
who are working off their hours.
Still, it's a
It's a dedicated
big thing.
group.
Yeah, yeah.
maybe they should be recognized sometime at some point, somehow.
Minuteman does.
Minuteman does it all?
A big,
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, that's good to know.
You have to remember that Meals on Wheels is a Minuteman program.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Run by Minuteman, and not just anyone can ask for Meals on Wheels. You have to qualify
Yeah.
through Minuteman to be able to get Meals on Wheels at home. So to say that there's 24, that means that there's 24 shut-ins, people who are judged to really need
Yeah.
a meal at home, judged by Minuteman to need that.
It's a good-sized number, though. Yeah.
And some of them get meals for the weekend, frozen meals also besides their daily. Yeah. So that's it.
Well, that's in keeping with the needs assessment, though, too, and knowing that, we know there are people that we're not even aware of that need, well, we're aware of them indirectly because they are getting the Meals on Wheels through, at least they're benefiting from that.
But how many have food instability that we don't know about?
Right.
Right.
So, but the Meals on Wheels is a great program, and we can't expand it, but, I'm sure Minuteman would respond if there was a need, so.
To respond to what Susan was saying, the food stamp program acknowledges that the number of seniors who apply for food stamps is much below the level of those who qualify. They know that's an underserved population.
And then you wonder how many people are, hopefully they're taking advantage of, like Loaves and Fishes and places to get supplementary food too, so hopefully. But you don't know that because you don't know the people that are, going there and using the facility. But again, that's another situation where, people need to know about it and not feel uncomfortable going.
Right.
Well, many of them go through Tina.
Correct, when Tina refers people and tells them about it, I know she does. Yep, so. Thank you, Barbara. I miss seeing activity. I miss that whole, thing of going to Stretch and Flex and then always going into the diner. I know, I miss it myself, so I can.
We're actually, now we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
We're getting there, we're getting
For a
there.
long time, we couldn't even see the tunnel.
That's true.
We didn't even
So-
get to the mouth of the
No, we hadn't even, no, it wasn't even a mouse up there. Okay, Mary, senior communication.
All right, I called the MBTA customer service for the new train schedule on the Fitchburg line because they go through Littleton to be sent to the COA in care of Tina. Did you ever get them?
not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
All right, I'll go after them.
They said in Sunday's paper that they were just getting them ready to go out.
There's a new schedule that came out. The August one is no longer in existence.
Anybody who wants to see the new schedule can go online,
Right,
MBTA.
right. But Tina should have them, we should have them anyway. I also stopped at Russell Street, the mental health facility, and I picked up some local brochures and cards and gave them to Tina. They're to help those that need assistance with mental health families. I noticed that the Westford Police deliver the sand buckets to the seniors, which sounded pretty good to me, because the people here that do it, they're kind of overworked. You don't think so, Pam?
I'm not going to ask the police to do it, no.
No? Okay,
I'm perfectly happy with the program the way it is right now.
okay.
It's working good, leave it alone.
Right. If it isn't broken, don't fix it.
Right.
Okay.
Those buckets aren't light. They're pretty heavy.
In December, the Littleton Fire Department received $2,500 from DCU to assist in the SAFE program, SAFE. That's an educational program for children and seniors. The Littleton Selectmen voted to accept the money in December. This will be with other assistance to help pay for the detectors that the fire department put in the homes, which was really nice of them to do it. In the past, they've given it to the library and to the schools, DCU, but this time they gave it to the fire department.
And they put,
Huh?
what kind of detectors? Smoke detectors?
Smoke detectors?
They use
There's two kinds.
the carbon monoxide they use. I think they use the combination one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That was a while ago.
Well, I had to have them come to my house recently because I couldn't get the battery. I asked them to come out and help me. And to make sure it was working correctly.
Right.
Well, they'll pay for it.
They will,
They'll do
but
it.
it's a combination one, because they were commenting on, I have a couple of the combination ones, and that's what they said they were giving out. Mine, that did work, so they didn't have to replace it, but, yeah. So they do have the combination carbon monoxide smoke.
Good.
Westford COA Food Pantry has increased a new limit for non-residents of 2 visits a month. They do have a long list of resources of neighboring communities that have food pantries, and I'm sure that Tina has that information. Also, Westford has the Boston Shuttle, which leaves Littleton for medical appointments, Littleton train station for Boston 3 times a day, and they go through Mart, which is really nothing different than what we are doing. But they do have a problem in getting transportation for some of their residents from Westford to Littleton train station. That's it.
Oh, all right, thank you.
Yeah, Westford's not
Well,
part of
the-
Crosstown Connect.
I move that the reports be accepted as given.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? You're good to go, Bob.
By the way, DCU might be moving in March to the Point from the
I
downtown.
heard that's their building, their new
Yeah,
building down there.
they're going down there.
Yeah, yep. Does anyone know what's going to be happening to the building they're in now?
McDonald's.
Well, it's too difficult to
McDonald's?
get
No,
into.
just kidding, just kidding.
No, I think, one thing that I heard was that they possibly were going to keep some offices in that building. and
Oh,
not
that would be nice, maybe.
Not move completely, but
That's a huge building they're putting up.
On the corner there, yeah.
Big.
But somebody has bought all the land from Welch's, the subway, and that what used to be the consignment shop, and that's going to be all something. I don't know who.
Really?
Yeah. So that whole
Really?
side of the street has been sold.
Oh, my gosh, that's all the way down then from,
All the way to sort of the corner, yeah,
Oh, wow.
Robinson.
Robinson Road?
Yeah.
Huh,
wow.
that's
Interesting.
interesting.
Well, so that was scuttlebutt I heard.
Julie?
Have to do it again on camera.
And it was just like 30 seconds before.
Oh.
now we're back
We're
up.
back on, okay. Sorry about that. We had a
You can
little
adjourn the
delay.
meeting.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the
Not
meeting?
yet, you have to wait for the light, I think.
Oh,
No, we're on.
Oh, you're on?
So moved.
Okay, so.
second.
Second.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned at 4:50. 2:50.
4:50.